Potentially. Yep. I think we're up. All right. Okay. We're not going to do a whole lot of talking before this episode because we want to get right into it. The last thing, why there's a missing episode, that episode got claimed and taken down because my virtual soundboard had restarted at some point and toggled the Google audio back into the stream, so there was audio on that one, so it's down. So that one's not coming back. So there's one episode missing. I'm blurry as hell. But hopefully that should be sorted for this one, so it should be back to normal. But what I was going to talk about with people being like in love with fan theories is I think it's fun to theorize, and like with Merrick specifically is what people were talking about this with, is there's that niche of the fandom that get like really vocally upset that, say in Merrick's case, that he wasn't anybody, at least as of right now. He doesn't seem to have been anybody. He was just a thing. And people getting like upset and downvoting or negatively reviewing things because of that. Which, I mean, I'm disappointed he wasn't somebody, but I mean, it's like he got sliced, he exploded in dust, you're like, huh. All right, I guess he wasn't anybody. Like, I mean, it sucks. It's, you know, maybe a missed opportunity, but everybody under a helmet doesn't have to be somebody. But you know, it's still a good thing that people are talking about it.
But also, the show's not over, and I mean, he was dust that came to being one time. Who's to say he's not gonna come up somewhere else?
Yeah, and I think that would be a good like subversion almost of like, oh, he was nobody. Just kidding, he's somebody. So you know. Okay, are we up yet? Still got a minute.
I'm talking about people talking in theories. I brought it up earlier. The whole Balin being a youngling.
Yeah, it's funny. They kind of look similar, like in the
yeah. And if the show showed us in Kenobi, a youngling survived to become
I doubt that youngling survived.
I know, he was like number one, ground zero.
Yeah. He walked out like
Grogu survived.
Just gets fucking sliced. Yeah, I don't think of any of the younglings to live. I don't think he was one of them.
What are we to do?
All right.
There was another one too.
Oh, I did see something talking about. They clearly showed that. No, sorry, something went wrong. Please try again later. That Balin is a man of honor and he keeps his word. Yeah, I think the website's crashing. I don't know.
Mine's up.
Okay, mine just keeps saying something went wrong. Try again every time I click on Ahsoka. Let me just.
I saw that too, and like he's a man of his word, and even if like Morgan tries to do something wrong, like he's gonna step in.
He's gonna make sure that she isn't harmed and that she gets to Ezra. So that should be interesting. I don't have any expectations. Well, that's not true. I have expectations that this should be fucking phenomenal because of how much Dave Filoni's hyped it up. They're doing theatrical releases. I have big expectations for this episode, but I don't have any preformed expectations, I guess, of like what the hell we're about to see.
I purposely like tried to avoid like looking at different stuff. I mean, sure, a meme here or there's popped up, but I've tried not to look too much into it just so I could keep an open mind going into tonight's episode. I'm extremely interested to see where our cliffhanger goes, where the bum bum bum, the Vader theme comes in, and like what all comes out of that part of the story. So that should be very interesting.
Well, then let's do this. Are you ready?
I am ready.
In 3, and 2, and 1, go.
That's another thing we talked about in light of last week's episode. Sabine suffering, her family being lost in the fall of Mandalore and everything. So we didn't really think about all of that, judging her decision. Also, seeing
No, I
her
still don't agree
mentor
with it.
topple off. You don't think so?
No, it still
No.
makes no sense. She still got hair. It's like we were talking about yesterday. She's got Hera, Zeb,
Oh yeah,
Chopper,
yeah.
like Jason. I'm sure she has some form of relationship with him. It doesn't. I don't know. It. We'll see where it goes, but it is a bit weird.
Was this the first form of the Haldo maneuver?
Well, I'm curious if this is them trying to portray what the Holdo maneuver looks like when it doesn't do that,
Have a
or if this is
ring?
what happens because it's a ring and they like jumped
Yeah.
around them. I don't know.
Because it seems like the ones that might have been on the far outside got hit and blew up, whereas the ones directly in the middle, Hera, didn't get hurt.
Here we go. All these fucking people talking about it being Vader's lightsaber. Not even
No,
close.
it's Anakin's.
I mean, like, where's his scar? Where's his scar?
It's there.
It's right there. It's just in the shadow. In the movie, it was more like right on the edge of his eye, whereas I think traditionally it's depicted like right over the like his actual eye, like
In Clone
there.
Wars, they put it right over the eyebrow, so it seems like they kind of adjusted it to match.
Because in the movies, it's
God,
like
yeah.
right on like the almost edge.
What if we got a live action prequel, Asajj, Anakin, he gets a scar show?
The one thing that people are talking about is basically that they're supposed to be depicting he was destined to fall to the dark side, and that's what she's gonna see, and that's what she has to come to terms with. But it didn't have anything to do with her specifically. I do
I
like
also
this
wonder if we'll
planet.
get some of that. I wonder if we'll get some of the arc of the brother, the sister, the father, and all of that, because that
Well, that's the other
depicted some
big
of his
theory is that
fall.
that is the son, not Anakin. But it's kind of neat. See all the insides. Oh, it's totally just split in half. Couldn't you just like and still be able to see what was on it?
Weld it.
That looks
Really?
like a practical ramp. That's how you know they don't have pockets. That's got to be eerie.
He had a bad feeling about this. I also saw photos and stuff of his little shoulder piece and comparing it to Kanan's.
So, brought her son of her dead husband or whatever to a war zone.
And also, they said scanners picked up nothing. Their Ahsoka ship's still there with Hyjin.
Hyjin. I don't
Hayan.
know. I would have been able to tell you until you said Hyjin. I don't fucking know. Who Yang?
Not stuck in your head. Huyang.
I wish they had made the white on her tails a bit more like pronounced. You almost can't see them.
Uh,
Oh, that's kind of sad. He's all by himself, and his two people are gone.
It's one thing I've always liked about Filoni. He always changes like the theme to match the mood.
Looks really good. It looked a little weird in the frame from last week, but it looks really good.
Uh-oh. Or die.
That's weird.
What the? I've heard that before.
No, how?
But he was talking about Luke, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because
He's
he
talking
goes,
about
"I
how
won't
good
fight
it
you,
looks.
Father."
Yeah.
He goes, "I've heard that before."
The hell is that? Ahsoka's down in the water. She uses it constantly.
Yeah.
That's interesting. She still wouldn't be able to hear it, right?
The Force resides in all of them.
I think they'd be a little more concerned that fish are using lightsabers now. You don't leave your kid on this planet.
I was expecting that. Why didn't you just say so?
He's like, fuck it, whatever. He's like, what the hell?
You brought toe shoes to a lightsaber battle?
She about to fall into Mustafar.
No.
No expectations. His clouds look awful red, though. Oh, she's dead. She got Gamora'd.
That's a kid.
No, it is. Oh, yeah, we knew that young Ahsoka got cast. Oh, cool. They look a little weird.
A little chunky.
that one looks normal, I guess. Oh, cool. That's cool. It's the same clones running in circles, running back by the camera. How weird is that? Oh, that's so cool. I love those ships so much.
This is like a Ghost of Christmas Past episode. A Star Wars Carol.
She doesn't sound anything like Ahsoka.
She kind of does when she was like little bitty.
I see they ditched the weird, like, tube top miniskirt look for her early days. It's probably a good call. I also see how they were able to hide the budget with smoke. It's like, it doesn't have to be perfect. As I was saying, you have, like, clones just running in circles, running back by the camera. Is it going to be Tamora Morrison?
It's going to have to be.
Is it a latex mask of his face?
Turns out that guy's burned.
They look like they have wraps on their face. And hands. Bastards. It's Rex! How cool! Mm-hmm. He looks so goofy.
I think it's the armor.
Guess they couldn't afford Tamora Morrison. Or they're saving that for Rex reveal. So odd.
Is this the episode where she wouldn't like leave that crawler or whatever? It went from being like she's like, oh, this is where we are, to like being caught up in the moment, like
Yeah.
she's living the flashback. Sounds like a theme. Rex.
I'm not enjoying the dusty vibe. I'm sure it's a budget thing,
But I also wonder if it's like part of the story, like it's like clouding her vision or
that's
whatever.
cool. Yeah, it might
Yeah.
be.
And then maybe as she starts figuring things out, the picture will become clearer. I don't know.
These are the first live action Phase 1 clones I think we've probably seen.
I guess all the other ones were computer generated in Attack
All
of
of
the
the
Clones.
clones in the prequels were CG. Every one of them. It wasn't until I think the Kenobi show that we got our first live action clones. Which is weird to think about.
Nothing.
I can't even see the water. Love that classic jet, like, turning. Tell me the fucking chopper couldn't just beam that straight into the ship and talk to them. Well, if the ship can go into space, couldn't it go underwater?
I feel like it would.
No, this is
It's
season 7
pressurized.
Clone Wars.
That's
No,
a
this is
Mandalorian.
Mandalore. Yep. It's kind of live action Ahsoka troopers. That's fucking sweet. That's Tim. Did somebody tell this lady to hold her lightsabers the right way?
This is during the fall of Anakin.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll show Maul.
God, he looks good. That is spooky.
I feel like also he sounds good. He sounds like Anakin. He doesn't sound like the episode 3 kind of like whiny, like whatever.
That's Vader's lightsaber. I think it's his actual lightsaber.
Now he's evil Anakin.
Eee. That looks slightly less good, but I'll say I'm not sold on young Ahsoka, but hey, we've seen that before. She gonna fall on her back and kick him in the head? That's fucking sweet.
I feel like this is also what Vader would have been had he not been cut into pieces.
As like we've never seen Anakin with a red lightsaber. That's cool. Oh no. That was one of a kind. Looks like he blew an eye out. What the hell happened to his right eye? The difference is that Obi-Wan cut him up instead. Oh, don't pan around. He's gonna disappear. God fucking son of a bitch. I hope that wasn't it. I mean, it was cool. It was over so quick. This feels like the Pirates of the Caribbean thing.
Now her makeup's gonna run.
I find it hard to believe that whole costume. It's impressive to me that the thing stuck to her head as she went under. Because there's definitely got to be like... whatever. That sucks. That was probably all the Anakin, huh? That's cool from a prop standpoint. That's a cool shot. That bitch woke up and didn't try to swim to the surface.
She just survived. You think she has the strength to do anything else other than open her eyes?
That's a cool
How
shot.
do these people get on the Ghost all of a sudden?
They've been there all day. It's nighttime now.
No, but they weren't on the Ghost. They were in their own TIE fighter.
I know, but they've been here for all day. They're not still going to be in their X-Wings. They did say they were going to run out of fuel. So now they might be stuck on that planet other than the Ghost. Probably has a bigger
map on her hand.
This dude's butt has got to be hurting. Although, did she, like, wake up on the dark side of the planet?
Assuming she drifted that far?
I sense some rewatch. Oh, ew. Ah. We've never seen her without the head thing. I don't like that at all. Ew. Why would they do that? Just put her fucking headband on. That looks real weird. Is that her?
But it also looks right.
Mm-mm. Oh, that's weird. Star Wars
And
sucks.
somebody walks in and she's like, oh!
Oh, that's so weird. Is that a space towel? That's a new headpiece. It's not the same one.
Yeah, I've seen things about her using the echo, like what's his
Yeah.
face, and
Yeah, she did it in the first episode when she went to where Sabine got stabbed. Cal Kestis' ability.
I can never remember his name.
I like her new little head thing.
She's like, I already know.
In the same place that Ezra's been for a decade. Or her helmet would have been in the woods, right? That's where it got knocked off, and then she showed up without it. I was gonna say maybe the helmet has like a recording of the map or something.
No, Hu Yang brought it when he went searching.
She needs Grogu to like talk to the Purgle and get him to take him.
Ezra did it like Ahsoka.
I assume that's where we're going. Tell me they wouldn't have record of like the large surge of power or some sort of visual recording, anything of that stuff. Yeah, if they choose the Purgle, they don't have to go to Coruscant.
Looks like they're choosing Purgle.
How many ships can they hold?
Well, the Ghosts, I think we've seen
so
in
the
Rebels hold at
X-Wings
least
are...
like 2 small ships.
No, she's in all of her, she's in the white cloak from Rebels. Looks good in the white.
Set your tuners to frequency 0.
Should I talk to it? I like how bright and like holy it looks. It's neat. It's not all dusty and brown.
I think in the show they look like purple.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely more done up in this, that's for sure.
Well, I wonder if they'll give us a really good look at their eye, because in the show it looked like a galaxy.
That's the mom Purgle.
That's the other thing I don't understand, because in Rebels, the Purgle's tentacles broke through the window. So if they had
Yeah, don't think about
teleported through space, that'll do, Pig. That'll do.
Yay, new costume. Cool. Granted, it looks like a slightly different color over other one, but you know. So
I'm glad we're not seeing the toe shoes anymore.
I'm sure they're still there. You just didn't see them.
No, they were real boots.
No, yeah. I like the toe boots.
I don't know. It's just weird to me.
Is it an eyeball?
It's got to be. Oh, it's a snout.
Okay, that's what I thought it was at first. Gonna send 3 fucking pistachio shells to apprehend them.
Frighten the pod.
Pot of whales. Oh, it's funny. It's like, oh, we can't.
Is that? Was that Carrie Fisher's daughter?
Oh, I
Kind of
thought
looked like
kind of
her.
thought the same thing, but I don't
I can't remember her name.
think that would track. Better fucking start talking. Get that exposition out there.
We were there. We saw it.
You tell me they wouldn't have tried this like a long time ago to talk to these damn whales. You're fucking blowing off the ship. There's no way in hell he can see her.
I love how they went like real life whale with it.
That's just gross.
Fly the ship in and landed on his tongue.
There's no There's no way
Hey,
he can hear
move us
her.
in there. Hey, get us in there. Get us in that whale hole.
I mean, again, but why would they not have? I mean, they said they hadn't seen him since the whole thing with Ezra, but you tell me
What if this
Hera's...
Fergal hit like a hyperspace bump and swallowed them?
No, he's like the fucking seagull from Finding Nemo. Literally, he's a space seagull or whatever. They take him to some other galaxy.
Haha, fuck you.
So what, now she's gonna go tell the fleet that her friend's ship got eaten by a space whale? What's her plan now? So up until this point they were cloud whales, but now they're actual space whales.
Well, they weren't. They originally encountered them in the clouds of a moon or something. They were recharging, but every other time they would hit ships in hyperspace lanes, and that's why people hated them. And that's out in space.
So gonna open the mouth, see the ship in there? Are we gonna see their little tentacle hyperspace?
So I was just wondering.
Thruster
We got
things?
it.
Neat. feel like you're not supposed to look into the sun.
They get there and like, ha! 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 Oh, fuck! I have to use the restroom.
There's no end credit things. That is wild. I wonder if she brought Sabine's helmet. She might need that. I mean, I both get it and don't really get it as to why this episode was like hyped up as much as it was. I mean, I don't know. I'm a little torn on.
It was a good episode. I feel like a lot of the hype is probably going to come from. Obviously, you had Hayden Christensen coming back. We had a little bit of a Tamara Morrison show up, even though if we didn't get a face, so they probably had like a very high budget for it. So they had to get maybe a little more audience for it. So that's why the push. But past that, it was still like a really good episode. I didn't want it to end.
Yeah. I mean, I get, like, I guess it just goes to show how, like, prequel era Star Wars people are kind of spoiled currently with Dave Filoni doing stuff. Because we just watched Anakin, post-Vader, full, like, knowledge Anakin, fight modern-day Ahsoka as Anakin, which is a strange statement. And then we saw early Clone Wars Anakin and young Ahsoka, which I did not like little Ahsoka. I could stretch the like Rosario Dawson Ahsoka because it's so far detached from what we're used to, but Clone Wars Ahsoka is such a like specific thing that those did not cross really well for me. I don't think.
It wasn't too hard for me to digest. If you look past like the little things, I fully enjoyed watching live action Clone Wars scenes, both from I guess the very early Clone Wars to Phase 2 Clone Wars to kind of the end, and then we got the that he says it in the episode. I don't remember this battle. Which I thought was cool. I kind of had hoped we would got, even if it was like her looking up and seeing her and Maul fighting in the rafters as like silhouettes. I think that would have been cool. I know that's all fanfare and everything, but maybe it would be like, hey, look, this is what your training led to, kind of like throwback. But
or while this was happening, he's like, oh, I don't know this battle. She's like, yeah, this is Siege of Mandalore. He's like, oh.
Like, when did this happen?
It's like, yeah, I know.
What was the date?
It is kind of interesting, Hayden talking about like them being trained as peacekeepers, because I mean he went into like basically being like a young adult being trained. So he went through a lot of training as like normal Jedi before the Clone Wars and the Separatists had even probably been a mention. So he probably was brought up as more of a peacekeeper. So it's interesting to hear him talk about being trained as a peacekeeper with the Jedi, whereas like his training with her is in a completely different context and scenario.
Well, I think in that that sentence, he was trained in the traditional like Jedi way of peacekeeping. Maybe even if he only did it for a year and a half or 4 years or whatever, he wasn't technically a peacekeeper. But Obi-Wan was trained by Qui-Gon, and in their era, before there were Sith again, they were peacekeepers.
That's what I'm saying. Even Anakin was brought up mostly in a normal era before all the shenanigans had kicked off.
Yeah.
He's just was, a little bit ahead of the curve as far as like what they have to get figured out if they're going to make any progress. Granted, I don't know if putting your peacekeepers in the leading position made too much sense, but whatever.
Well, I think that's the whole point of everything. The lead up in the fall of Jedi weren't supposed to be generals; they were supposed to be peacekeepers. And slowly, through fighting this war, it kind of made them gray to the dark side, and that's what ultimately led to like their downfall, I guess, because they were kind of blind to it after everything they'd been through, or the war and all that other stuff, where it's just been evil and battle and blood and gore and everything else. It clouded their judgment.
That is a cool shot of him walking, though, into the smoke and him, like, flashing to Darth Vader. Even if thematically I don't necessarily understand it in that context. Like, why then was she, like, seeing the flicker? Because it's like you were saying, when she landed, it was like they were both out of body, but in the moment, like, what? Why are we here? This is one of our first things. Like, why are we re-going through this? But then it's like they transition to like normal conversation where they're like they weren't like that. So I'm a little
another scene from the time.
Yeah, I'm a little confused at the directional like choice, I guess.
And as far as the flickering goes, that popped into my head. That was like one of the last seasons of Rebels, where Ezra's he blew apart that temple, and then Palpatine's walking through the rubble, and he's flashing between Palpatine and I guess Emperor or not. Darth Sidious and Palpatine is what he's flashing between. So that I guess that was kind of maybe a throwback to that.
And I think part of why I'm not sold on like the young Ahsoka, one, I mean, it might have been a budget thing and a prosthetic thing. Like by the time of season 7 came around, her like Leku were a decent length, and it looks like they just used the same headpiece from what was supposed to be like a long period prior. So that looked a bit weird. But then also like her costume looked almost like a Halloween grade costume. Like the gauntlets, maybe, but something like I don't know, it's just something about it that like Rex, Phase 2 Rex, Phase 1 Rex always looked ridiculous. Phase 2 Rex looks really good. He looks like a live action version of Rex. Armor and stuff, but like I don't know, there's just something about her look that just is a bit strange. I'm not entirely sure what.
I feel like we're hitting a little bit of like the Mando Ahsoka reveal where the Luke thing, and they had to progress. Bo-Katan, her hair when her first came out. I feel like if we got a few more episodes or a few more seasons, or maybe there's another flashback, say there's a season 2 of Ahsoka, we would get a little improvement on the younger Ahsoka, just built off of what everybody, the fandom, is saying. But I do agree. It seems like they just kind of recycled the first one, put a different headdress on it.
You remember in season 7, like the top portions were almost a little more pronounced, but
I feel like with that it shows the Traguta, or however you say their species. It shows like their maturity. I mean, when they're younger, they have the little short, stocky ones, and that's like part of the complaint with the original Ahsoka showing up in Mando is that
so
in Rebels
backwards almost instead of being like up. Yeah,
and I mean, even in the show, I mean, with the different elders and stuff that you see in different episodes, I mean, you see like the different links of their Leku and stuff changing with the age and wisdom and different things, and I feel like they take away from the character when they shorten that in a way, if that makes any sense.
It does. Like they definitely hit the like season 7 more aggressive, like skillful visual appearance of her. I don't think that's a real clone. That looks like a CG clone on that pause. Maybe they weren't all real. I don't know. That doesn't look like a real clone.
I feel like in parts of this episode you got a couple of those like lumpy little like ones, and then as they were closing it out, you ended up with a couple of CGI ones. Because I did notice that also.
Like the Phase 1s look real, but these Phase 2 ones don't look real. Like Rex looks real. I mean, even pausing right here, you see Rex, and you see like some other ones like running by, and they do not look relatable. But I get it's in like a passing moment. I'm just clicking through the episode to go back through stuff. That's
I mean,
definitely
maybe they are
Tamora
CGI.
Morrison. Yeah, it's definitely Tamora Morrison talking. I wonder if that's him. I doubt it's him, but
They just
because
stole like some voiceover from another
oh, I'm sure they had
episode.
him do the lines, but I can't imagine it was him. They would have taken advantage and they're like, okay, we're gonna bring you in. You're gonna film this as Rex, and we're gonna film you on the stretcher. Like they would have, I feel like, taken advantage of it. When considering we didn't see him, I don't think that was him. It was his voice, but
But he is cast in this season as Rex, is he not? Or do you think that was like the only part we're gonna see is like him going, "Come on, guys," or whatever the fuck he said? Let's get him.
I don't know. But you think this one episode, we got Phase 1 Rex, we got Phase 2 Rex, we got Ahsoka troopers, we got Phase 1 troopers, we got live action Mandalore, technically, in a roundabout way.
We got live action early Anakin,
We got two versions of
late
Anakin, we
Anakin.
got two versions of Ahsoka. I mean,
How cool would it have been if we had had a Ewan Anakin scene in Clone Wars era, like attire and everything, just for a couple of minutes? Like Ewan came up and was like, "Hey, I'm going to do this scene," and we got Obi and Anakin in one scene, like in one of those flashbacks.
yeah, I'd be curious to know if they're going to do more flashbacks. Like, is she going to make some error and this is going to happen again and we're going to get other sorts of shots? I can't imagine that is going to happen. I think part of my issue with like the flashbacks and stuff, and maybe I'm just missing the point, but it feels like there wasn't really a purpose to it. He just said you either live or you die, and then I'm gonna fight you. But then you get like these weird flashbacks of her having to be a soldier and not wanting to teach her Padawan, so maybe that's gonna come back up. That I don't know. I feel like I'm missing the point of.
I think the whole point of that was, one, it was she's fighting literally for her life, but two, she's coming, like we talked about a little bit before that, is she's coming to terms with Anakin's turn to the dark side, but also her following in his footsteps, and by her not maybe making the same choices that he made, even in that small battle, even reliving through some of the stuff, she proved that she is not him. She's a separate person, even though she continues in Qui-Gon's and Obi's and Anakin's
Yeah, I'd
legacy.
almost see
She's
more
not
of that
Anakin.
specifically. That she's not. She's not. She was trained by, but she's not destined to make the same decisions. That makes more sense than like, okay, you either live or you die. And maybe that was also part of the point, is it that's not how it works. There is a middle ground. You don't it's not so black and white, whereas I mean, I don't know.
And I think that might also be it, is that is the lesson. She is Anakin Skywalker, and as whereas Anakin in his right chose the path of Darth Vader, Ahsoka in her right as Anakin Skywalker chose the path of the light side.
Yeah.
She chose to be good.
God, I cannot get
And that's his
over
legacy.
how goddamn good he looks. Like when he walks up and he says, "I don't know this battle." Like that is fucking episode 3 Anakin, like as perfect as it can be. That is so weird. Like it's like you point out, he sounds like him. Like you watch it in interviews, you're like, okay, yeah, that's Anakin. Like you hear it, it's his fucking voice. But
I think
there's
it's
something
the
about it.
It's like the wisdom and maturity that like the younger miss with the older Hayden. Like older Hayden gets Anakin,
Like
and
this-
maybe even him having all of like the Clone Wars to look back onto. Also, this episode of Anakin was by far my favorite Anakin in anything that we've ever probably gotten next to Clone Wars.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And I still love Hayden even in the original movies.
I was about to say, yeah, it's a little. It feels almost disrespectful to say that, considering it's Hayden's character, and then Matt Lanter like elaborated on it because he was given the time to do so, which Hayden's also commented on before, basically saying like how much respect he has and how grateful he is for it because of what it added to the character. And I feel like that's kind of, you can see that here. like this Anakin feels more like right pre like dark side Anakin when he's talking to Obi-Wan, talking about how appreciative of his training he is and how he's apologetic for being the way that he's been. This feels like that same Anakin in the way that he's carrying himself. And this is post Darth Vader Anakin. This is like
I was about to say, this is
way
the
more
best
experience.
Anakin that you could possibly get because it's the post one. You're getting he's there in, I guess, the world between worlds, or in Mr. Force Ghost Anakin, and looking back, and he sees Annie, he sees the pod race, he sees the Clone Wars, he sees the falling of him to the dark side, he sees everything he went through with Palpatine, he sees everything he did as Darth Vader, and he's had all this time. I don't know how many years it's been since he fell. Let's just say 10 years since the fall of the Empire, or whatever, which I don't think it's been that long. He's had that long, which in time and space is probably a millennium, to reflect on his decisions and the things that he did, and like just everything.
I hope that that's
I
not all
thoroughly
the
enjoyed this.
Anakin that we get, but and I feel like it's going to be because I feel like they tried to do so much in one like chunk that I can't. I don't know. I don't feel like we're gonna get any more Hayden as Anakin, but I hope that we do.
I could hope that, because we do know that he is a Force ghost, we know that he is still around, that he could pop up at another point of hardship in the last, what, 3 episodes that we get. Maybe come back around. I feel like at this point they're already leading, because we're finishing episode 5. We still haven't found Sabine. We still haven't seen Thrawn. We know he's coming back. We are just on our way to the other side. I feel like they're already leading into a season 2, so maybe.
But I also feel like they're gonna want to give like that's why this happened here, and then we jumped here because they're gonna want to give whatever happens on the other side with Balin, Shin, and Thrawn like its
As
own
much
time
time.
to simmer, and not have that be taken away by Hayden as Anakin, because
Which
this was
also
like
makes
a
me.
huge thing. It makes sense that it would have happened before we get to Thrawn and all of that stuff.
It also makes me sad because we're also getting later in the episodes, and we all obviously know what happens to Balin. So I wonder how much material they actually got to contribute to the story leading into, if there is a season 2.
Yeah.
I mean, we could get a classical Star Wars, or I mean, I guess any movie kind of lead up where we get this long drawn out 7 episodes, and then the 8th episode they shoot the fucking torpedoes into the little vent and destroy the whole hyperspace ring, and Thrawn's on it.
I have a feeling that they're setting up something on the other side, and that they're going to be able to somewhat bring people over to that side because they've already said that they're setting up a Mandoverse show or a movie that's like supposed to be like an Avengers climactic type thing. The only person that really makes sense with is Thrawn. So I feel like this is going to set up Thrawn. Maybe we get a season 2 of Ahsoka before like this weird hybrid movie thing, but maybe they're over here for a while and then he does bring some sort of force over and there's a big climactic rallying of the galaxy to get rid of them, and then it's the remnants of that become the First Order or something. I don't know.
I was about to say, I don't know at what point in this timeline we have to anticipate the First Order showing up.
I think we still got like 15 years at least. But that's the other thing is Balin told her that her legacy, just like her master's, was one of what, death and destruction, or death and something.
Something like that.
Destruction and death, or whatever. And that more so lines up with what the visions and the lesson was from Anakin. So yeah, I feel like maybe it was slightly poorly done, where it's like, hey, you either live or you die. Like, and then he says it again in the second thing. It's like, oh, you're either gonna live or you're gonna die. It's like, that's not the point. That's not the lesson that we're here to learn. I'm not gonna act like I still don't really know what the lesson was,
but again, that's what I was kind of saying. Maybe it's not die, but how you do it. It's life and death, but it depends on how you live and how, like, if you're, I don't know, if you go about it a good way, if you go about it a bad way, like, I don't know.
yeah,
That might be getting a little deep.
I hope I'm man. God, I don't know. I hope we get to see more. I thought it was when he said, that's what this is about. Okay, all right, I told you, like this is what it is, and he ignites the red lightsaber. I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's Darth Vader's lightsaber, but it wasn't. It was still Anakin's lightsaber.
It was still Anakin's, yeah.
I was hoping it's like, all right, well, let me draw this. It's like, what this is.
I can't remember. I feel like I read something. It was probably like a comic or something, like where he ended up putting a crystal in his old lightsaber until he could construct a new lightsaber. It ended up, and I think I mentioned it to you, it ended up looking like his old lightsaber, and then Sidious ended up giving him shit about it.
I also like how much this felt like Anakin from episode 3 in his swinging and his movement and everything. Like it had that prequel vibe to it. It's weird to me that they did like these weird flashes of Darth Vader, but to never like fully see him as Darth Vader. I mean, unless they just CG'd that over and it was never like him actually in the full costume.
No, I doubt it. I think the whole point was Ahsoka seeing Anakin as she remembered what he was or what he became.
But yeah,
she never saw him as Vader or never even seen Vader as far as I know. Oh no, she did.
Yeah, in Rebels.
Yeah. But she never knew it, or she figured it out, but she knew him as Anakin.
It is cool to see like Darth Vader pre Obi-Waning, but time to die.
I also like that I pointed out. She goes, "I won't fight you," and I thought you were. It was something else in the scene, but that was a throwback to Luke in episode 3. He's like, "I won't fight you, Father."
Yeah,
and it cracked me up because he's like, "I heard that before," and it also cracked me up because he's like, "You got old." That's like just so blunt and like the first thing he says, not whatever. He's like, "You got old." Cracked me up.
I don't like what feels like the over-reliance of snips to like, it's like, it's a Clone Wars stuff, right? Because that's what the thing. Like, it made sense at first, but then it's like, he said it like 4 or 5 times in this episode. It's like,
I only heard it twice. I heard it in last episode and like the vague, like kind of go. And then he said it once in this.
Well, he's like, you're never too old to learn, Snips. Like, literally, first time you see him. And then he's like, oh, hurry up, Snips, like, in the Clone Wars stuff. And then I think he says it again. It's just like, all right.
I was too much watching everything and paying attention to what he was doing,
especially considering the whole Mortis arc where he's like, hey, Snips, like, when she's all evil. And he's like, I hate that you call me that. Or she says that she hates that he calls her that.
It's maybe again, that's part of it, part of the dark side thing, part of the, I don't know, triggers.
I don't know. I'm just nitpicking. God, that looks. I can't get over how good it looks. Because like when he showed up in the last episode, it was like, okay, that looks like him. But it looks a little weird. And now, given what we know, that was probably the single worst shot of his face of this whole thing. And it was like his reveal. It's just something about it looked fake. Whereas like this, even when he's talking, which is typically where things get a little bit squirrely, all of it looked really good. Other than like the weird red Sith eyes that looked a bit strange. But I assume it's because they couldn't do contacts because they wouldn't have shown up in that lighting.
I think it's probably just the lighting, yeah. Because I mean, I enjoyed everything that I saw of Anakin.
That's what I'm saying. Everything in this episode looked really good, but it's just that it's like the angle of the like blue sheen. He looked.
That's what I'm saying. I think it was just the lighting.
Face.
Yeah.
I didn't notice there was a battle droid head laying next to the clones on the stretchers. Live action B1. Oh, it's like part of a torso. I also like that there's like odd Twi'lek soldiers like standing around. Well, when is this
Yeah,
supposed to
at first
take
it seems like it's the
place?
Battle of Geonosis, and then it seems
Unless,
Harris planet,
I
home
was gonna say,
planet.
unless was when you see like Waxer and Boyle with Cody, saving the little Twi'lek people during the Battle of Ryloth.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's probably what that was, because that was like a dusty planet.
Maybe I miss it. Some of these scenes where he's like twirling it around and then he just goes to a simple like kind of like what's the point in that?
That's got to be what that was, because Ryloth was one of those early arcs. I don't remember how early it was, but Storm over Ryloth. Yeah, that was this okay. So the Ryloth arc was the first arc that she got to lead the mission. Because they had the whole thing like up on the Venator or whatever, where she got to give the brief and all that, and then they had the conversation of like, hey, how am I supposed to lead if you won't let me? That whole thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then she's
yeah.
having the people get blown up. I think that's exactly what that was corresponding to. We just never, I guess, saw them on the ground because we were following Obi-Wan and Cody and all that stuff. But I think that's probably exactly what we just saw, because that was Phase 1 early days.
He does look a little clunky in the Clone Wars armor get up.
I think it's because just the proportions obviously are not what they were in the Clone Wars. Like, he was very skinny and tall and lanky, and his legs were like super long. But the
Yeah,
chest armor looks very large, relatively speaking.
and I think what didn't work with the young Ahsoka is that they changed the size of her headpiece, but they didn't change the actor. So you had an actor portraying like let's just say what 11 to 12-year-old
Yeah, true.
Ahsoka, and then they flash forward to like a 16 to 18-year-old Ahsoka, and it's the same actor. So I think that might have been what kind of threw that off.
Yeah, because there's a weird mental gap there where you're like, and the big visual difference was her wardrobe change and her head tail change, where head tails didn't really change, and then her wardrobe already is very reminiscent of like that season 4 to 7 like type of clothing that she was wearing. So yeah, I guess it just maybe wasn't as much of a visual change. I also think that the Clone Wars armor looks a bit odd because it's so wide. So it's like his shoulders almost go like up under it, so it makes him look really square. Had they like
Yeah.
shrunken it ever so slightly and narrowed it and brought it up a little bit, it maybe would have looked. But it's also weird because we're seeing a version of Hayden that we have never seen before. We've never seen
No,
Anakin
yeah.
with like the weird short hair. It's very strange because this is
He's only
like,
ever had the Padawan braid or the fucking,
yeah, this is post 2, pre 3 weird.
and it's
Again,
always robes. It's never been like a chess piece or anything. So also, why do you think they wore the chess piece? Because it's not like a whole lot of armor. I doubt it did anything.
well, it's like with Obi-Wan, he wore the knees down and the arms and then had the chest, but that way they could still bend and I guess fight with, their torso maybe. But Anakin never wore the arms. He only wore like just the chest. I don't know. Trying to.
You must adjust to the times.
I will say I'd almost would have preferred them just skip the like Clone Wars era armor. Um, because again, there's a weird like mental gap with her wardrobe of like we know, because they're not going to show up however old she was at the time, like weird like mini skirt tight like lightsaber tube top whatever the hell she was wearing in those like first Padawan episodes on a real live human. So again, there's that weird like gap there that is strange. It also looks like trying to see her legs. Because what she's wearing looks like it's supposed to be the live action version of her season 4 stuff. But the weird part, and again, maybe this is not the Ryloth stuff, this is like an in between exactly. Because what she's wearing, I'm pretty sure, is. Yeah, because she's got gray. Okay, yeah, so what she's wearing is the live action version of, I think it was season 4.
It had to have been the next outfit she got after she.
Oh no, I guess maybe she did only have one lightsaber at the early point of this. I was no, I'm pretty sure that when she changed out of like the two top look to like the burgundy like boots and the like chest piece with like the little cutout and the bicep wraps, I thought that was when she got her second lightsaber, but I might be wrong about that. I am not sure.
Well, it looks like we're gonna have to watch Clone Wars again.
But yeah, so that's exactly what it's supposed to be. They just changed the torso because, again, I guess having like a slight diamond cut out like right here was still too risque for this, I suppose. I don't really know, but that's definitely what it is. So now my time.
Battle of Mandalore definitely stepped up.
I still love that. I don't know this battle. Yeah, motherfucker, you wouldn't, because the Chancellor needed you. I can't even tell if these Mandalorians are real or not. It's hard to tell.
Come on, let's go! See, like, if they had gotten an actor or actress, like, she looks like she might be 12 to 15. If they had gotten, like, an actress, like 17 to 19,
16, yeah.
Just a little bit taller, maybe a little bit mature looking, like, I feel like it would have looked right. Nothing against the actress. I mean, obviously, she did a great job with her acrobatics and the fight scene and everything, but...
Yeah, I like that they at least showed... And even, like, mentally, there's a visual difference in her in that than in the previous. But, yeah, there's a... It is weird. She still looks like a 12-year-old. When at this point, she's, like, a fully self-sufficient... Like, I don't believe for a second that, 48 hours from now, she buried, like, hundreds of clones. That person right there. That didn't happen. There's no way. Even though we know that that's... where that goes. Maybe 48 hours.
I think the Rex just ran off into the distance. Is going to try to kill her soon.
Yeah, but see, like, that scene where it, like, pans behind them when they're standing there and she's saying, oh, is that all? Like, her costume just doesn't look... Like, he looks perfect. Like, everything looks right. Her stuff, it just looks like pictures of a Halloween costume on a package. There's just something about it. It does not look like, I don't know, I feel like I see cosplay stuff all the time that looks better than this. So when people have the means to do something better than the studio itself, that just stands out to me and is very weird. Like, I see that version of Ahsoka all the time, and there's a lot of them out there that look, like, almost perfect.
I will say, seeing this again, I do like seeing, like, I just killed everybody. I attacked the temple. I killed the whole fucking separatist group. Anakin with the gaunt face and, like, the scars popping a little bit. His eyes are red.
That's an interesting line. She says, okay, you're all that I am, all that I possess, all the knowledge and all that. She says, but my legacy is one of death and war. And Anakin says, but you're more than that because I'm more than that. That's a really weird line.
He brought balance to the Force. He wasn't just death and war. I mean, also, like, the out of that scene, there's like doing the flashing. Like he's like, I'm about to fuck you up.
He's got to roll the shoulders.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna unleash these lightsabers.
I kind of, I kind of wish that when you said you're more powerful and dangerous than anyone realized, it's like he turns to Obi-Wan. He's like, "You turned her against me." He's like, "Is that what this is about?" So again, it's weird. It's like they have these weird like in the moment experiences, and then they have these weird like out of body experiences where like he knows what the fuck he did. He's like, "Oh, that's what this is about. You're gonna bring up me killing the younglings, huh? All right then, let's get into it."
But I think that kind of goes back to like what we were talking about. Like he knows everything. He knows the full circle, and like he's gonna play to her questions in a way. Like he knows what she
Yeah.
wants to know, and maybe he's not gonna give her the answer, but in a way he's like showing her.
I just noticed they definitely framed this from Obi-Wan's perspective in episode 3, where he walks forward and we're looking at his back, whereas in episode 3 we're looking at his face and you see Obi-Wan behind him. And he says, "You will try," and he pulls his lightsaber out. It's the exact same framing, except now we're looking from Ahsoka's perspective as to like what Obi-Wan would have seen in that exchange. There's no way they did not frame this the same way on purpose, of him reaching over and drawing his lightsaber the way that he does when it turns red.
Oh, with her back, yeah.
When he turns into like evil Anakin.
Wow.
It's also a weird, it's just the writing seems a bit odd. She's like, "I gave you a choice, live or die." She's like, "No," and he's like, "Incorrect." It just feels like a little rigid. Incorrect. It's cool to see her Clone Wars sabers. Still bugs me that she doesn't hold them backwards. They're really against that.
I think they had one forward and one backwards.
Not any of the Clone Wars stuff.
I don't think she held them both backwards.
No. That's what I'm saying. In the show, you don't ever see them backwards.
Oh yeah.
It's like when she fought Merrick, she was holding one backwards, but they like don't really do it all that often.
I also wonder if it's you can do anything you want to in an animated series with battles and everything else. Maybe not taken away from Rosario Dawson, but maybe she's not as competent with doing the dual wielding battle scenes or whatever, and they can't get a good stunt double to do it or whatever. So she's resorted to a one saber kind of like whatever.
I was gonna say it's definitely not practical, but fucking The Witcher loves that reverse grip nonsense, even with how impractical it is, and that's like a medieval sword setting. I would find it more believable that people with like an unnatural feeling of the stuff around them that can manipulate things would be more proficient at using them in that way than a dude with a sword.
Even in some of the old Star Wars stuff, they've had it where it's going backwards. It's like slashing backwards with the blade backwards. Maybe I'm thinking of the video games, like Starkiller and Force Unleashed.
I'm also
I think he did a lot of backwards battling.
Given like Anakin's and Hayden's reputation for so long, obviously people have come around to it now, but it is cool to see him back as Anakin, but also for it to be as impactful and big of a moment as it is, just for him to be on the screen as Anakin and to be involved again. It's just wild. And for them to just keep giving him cool moments. Like, he got to be Darth Vader and do some cool shit there. I mean, in this, like, it's cool fight scenes. You got cool fight scenes with episode 2 Anakin and Obi-Wan in the Kenobi show. the fight scenes with him here, like they're making him like a wise instructor, and he's getting cool fight scenes. It's just cool to see. I still
think that's
want
also
a good quality glove to put back there somewhere, because that is like,
I think that's the thing though, is we're back in a stage where he's not just here to do like a fan service, or even the same with Ewan. I mean, he could show up again in a show. So there's, I mean, obviously there's a little bit of fan service there, but also there's a lot of room moving forward with the different stories that are being created, where they could potentially take these characters again anywhere. There's untold adventures that they probably could have had during time travels or their time together or whatever before the fall of the Republic or before the rise of whatever, and they could tell those stories. So maybe we might start getting more.
that's the other thing is right now Anakin is like a force ghost. It might just be like a weird vision from her. Who knows? But like if we were to get a flashback like closer to the end of the show, like it wouldn't surprise me if we see Hayden in the finale, like her finally finishing whatever this lesson was fully about, or whatever, like something. It wouldn't surprise me if they also use him in the finale because they know what it is. But like if we were to see a flashback with her, Anakin, and Obi-Wan, like is Obi-Wan, or like one of these weird visions, is Obi-Wan gonna be an old ass dude? Because his Force Ghost is an old ass dude. Like, how does that work?
Well, they rewrote it one time, and we don't have a Mr. Alec Guinness anymore.
That would be pretty cool though to see if they like fully CG'd him and had like an Alec Guinness Force Ghost. Even if he didn't say anything, just like seeing them all together again, that'd be neat. You think this version of Anakin gets tired of wearing these clothes?
What, the heavy black and leather and
what's a Force Ghost need pouches for? What's a Force Ghost need clothes for? Also, people were talking about like, can Force Ghosts interact with the real world? And people pointed out, well, sequel trilogy, yes, that people don't like. But people pointed out that Alec Guinness's Force Ghost sat on a log. He physically sat down on a log.
Yeah.
Which, you know, maybe not as influential as he can hold a lightsaber.
Didn't he like move vines aside? Like he like walked through vines.
Yeah, I guess he did. That's a good point. I don't know.
Yeah, and then Mr. Luke Skywalker caught one out of a flaming TIE fighter.
I gotta talk about that. I find it interesting, like a visual tonal change after the Anakin stuff. Like the whole show looks brighter and whiter. I mean, obviously she's wearing white, but like I feel like whereas like the inside of the ship looked gray, now the inside of the ship looks white, if that makes sense.
Do you think it could be visually a point that they're doing, showing like the first couple of episodes, like she's not like on a dark side, but she seems to be kind of a grump. She's not like the best of moods. Sabine's kind of like a grump, like everything doesn't seem to be going the right way, and then she kind of has like this moment with Anakin, and now everything's like looking better. She's looking at the light side. I don't understand the
correlation to Anakin, but let's just say you get rid of the Anakin stuff. Everything up until she puts on the white is not grim, but there's not like, she's like, oh, I found the map. Oh, this is a good thing. There might be some hope here. But there's nothing concrete. She hadn't, like, I guess maybe fully opened herself up to it being a positive thing. Whereas when she puts on the white, she's smiling. She's visually seems more hopeful that this might actually work out. And maybe that's what leads to it actually working and her being able to communicate with these things. And it.
Well, that's kind of my point. Like, leading up to this, she was a gray Jedi. She wasn't a Jedi. She was a gray Force user or whatever. She was kind of in the dark, whatever. And then she had this moment, whether you get it or understand it or not, but I feel like she like squashed demons or settled like old whatevers with her past, and she's able to move forward with this burden off her chest, and maybe she found the light again and she's moving forward. And you see that visually in the ship, you see that visually in her clothing, you see that visually all around, that she's moving forward as a like good or light side, like kind of like Force user again, versus like a gray or maybe even kind of leading down to the dark side, like she thought she was leading.
I don't know if
And
it has
maybe even
anything to
like
do with the
Anakin.
Force, though, because she's still not gonna declare herself a Jedi. But I think it's more of just a tonal shift in all of it, not the Force or anything to do with, like.
That's my. I
Because
just
she
use the
already
Force
said,
as
"Oh,
an
I got this
example.
through not following Jedi protocol. Like, go fuck yourself. I'll torture somebody, kind of, a little bit. I don't care."
Well, that's my point. I'm just showing like she's kind of like falling down that down where
She was at like rock
those
bottom, and now
Yeah.
she's finally
she's
starting her way back up. Maybe.
Yeah, she went to the World Between World therapy. She dealt with her demons.
Skywalker and Skywalker fucking therapy session.
Yeah, she talked it out with her therapist, Mr. Skywalker, and now she's like she got out of her session and she's having like a better outlook on life.
Trying to think of the timeline. We're probably around the era of Palpatine getting busy with somebody.
Wait, what?
No, it would have had to have been sooner. Because he had a son, and then they had a kid.
Well, yeah.
So
but this is post Return of the Jedi, so that son would have already had to have been born.
Or would he?
Unless he was a clone.
Because there's only 30 years. I mean, he looked like he was maybe in his early 20s, so we might be like 5 years past him getting busy. Well, yeah, that would still line up. So Palpatine would have already had to have had a kid at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I took it is that maybe an infant son someone in high skill, and that infant son grew up and then had a grandchild, and then Mr. Episode 8, whatever, Snoke Palpatine figured out that Rey was his granddaughter.
I hope that they do whatever they need to do to make although the prequels were lacking context, the Clone Wars gave it context. I don't think context is going to help the sequel trilogy. I like aspects of the sequel trilogy, but like Luke being an old grumpy hermit, I don't think context is going to help people feel much better about that. Like, I feel like there's just some core things. Palpatine, return. I just feel like there's stuff in the sequels that something like the Clone Wars probably wouldn't help in the same way that it did for the prequels. I could be wrong.
Wasn't there talk of them redoing the whole thing?
I think that's just wishful thinking.
No. Well, I guess we'll keep wishing. But all in all, I enjoyed this episode a fuck ton.
Yeah, there'll definitely be some more watching. That's for sure. I just hope that is not the last of Hayden that we see in this season. If it was, we got a lot, but I don't care. I want more. So, but I guess that is where we'll leave it. And now we have to sit for a whole week. We got 3 episodes left, and we're going to a whole new place in the next episode. So that's gonna be
in a mouth
interesting.
Of a Purgle.
Yeah, in a fucking seagull mouth as clownfish.
It was
a pelican.
What is that from the Bible? Jonah and the whale.
Oh, I was thinking Moby Dick, but that's not the Bible. But
that's not from the Bible.
when they were going
Ishmael. I know Jesus.
When you were like, "Oh, go inside," I was like, "Well, they're gonna Moby Dick this like whatever." All right, we're leaving it there. We'll be here next week. So yeah,
they didn't survive Moby Dick. See ya.
Jesus Christ. I'm gonna try this different and just